Can you hear me now? I'd like to thank my family, my friends, and my supporters, and the young Republican, and also Charles Cook, for getting this together, because this was a lot of effort, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. Thank you. I am honored to be endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, whose members are police officers and deputies that work together daily. My passion is to serve my fellow man on the square and level. In my everyday life, my phone records reveal that I have returned over 6,500 phone calls to help resolve your problems and listen to your concerns. Immediately after becoming sheriff, a full-time narcotic unit was established to address the drug problem. Drug raids are conducted throughout each year, day by day, unselfishly dedicated individuals who are willing to sacrifice their time away from their family to make a safer neighborhood. Over 1,000 drugs arrests have been made, and over 70 meth labs have been destroyed by my dedicated professional officers. The drug problem has been addressed since day one of becoming your sheriff. It will continue to be addressed even during an election year. Officers have received many hours of advanced and specialized training, and some have earned a college degree while working full-time. They are to be committed to successfully meeting these challenges of becoming professionals in order to better serve. My team and I, the Narcotic Unit, Patrol, Detective Division, Jail staff, have made over 16,000 arrests since becoming your sheriff. Once again, over 1,000 drug arrests have been made. My educational background, extensive criminal investigation experience, and my proven leadership abilities qualified me to continue to lead as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the county. It has been an honor and privilege to serve you, and look forward to the opportunity to do so again. The vote for me will guarantee the protection of constitutional rights, especially your Second Amendment. My team and I have advanced the Sheriff's Department to the greatest level of accomplishment and professionalism since being established in 1870. Together, we will make a difference.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for allowing me the opportunity to get here and talk to you guys. Thanks for just a tremendous show of support. Okay, you can go ahead and start the clock now. Good evening. Thank you, young Republicans, for hosting the Sheriff Forum. I just finished speaking at the Tennessee Firearms Association meeting where the Second Amendment was discussed in detail. I'm a huge supporter of Second Amendment rights as well as the entire Constitution. As your sheriff, your constitutional rights will be a top priority of mine. Last June, after 33 years at the Morristown Police Department, I retired as Operations Major. I am a military police corps veteran, and I worked 15 months at the Hamblen County Sheriff's Department. But now I'm ready to take on a new challenge, leading the Hamblen County Sheriff's Department. During the past 7 months, I have visited many homes and businesses across Hamblen County preparing to become your next sheriff. I would always ask 2 questions. First, what do you expect from your sheriff? And second, what do you expect from your sheriff's department? You would not believe the number and variety of responses. There were literally hundreds. I feel the time has come for us to thoroughly examine the accomplishments, capabilities, and the potential of our candidates. We need to be discussing goals, plans, and solutions for the many issues that face the modern-day sheriff. But yet, in my opponent's own words from the forum last week, he admits we have a prescription drug problem, but he doesn't know what the solution is. My opponent admits the jail is overcrowded, and it is, and he is doing nothing but housing these people in and out, in and out. That's his words, not mine. My opponent admits if we could fix the drug problem and take 80% of the jail population out, then we wouldn't need a new jail, but he can't fix the drug problem. And with all that said, my opponent is advocating on his campaign materials, if it's not broken, don't fix it. I'm here to tell you that my opponent's attitude cannot be complacent in the 21st century law enforcement area. The key is to always strive to improve your department and its crime-fighting efforts. If you're not advancing, you're backing up. A vote for Gary Lowe means fighting crime, agency cooperation, community-minded, employee development, customer service, embracing technology modernization, and preparing for the future. Time. Thank you.
The question parts of the evening, can you please hold your applause just for time's sake? Thank you.
Okay, I'm not gonna use the mic, I'm gonna use my big mouth and get in the middle of the room where everybody can hear, okay? The first question we have is from the Young Republican group. This will be for Mr. Jarnigan first. What does the oath of office mean to you?
Basically, is protecting the citizens of Hamlin County and guaranteeing their constitutional rights. It's to resolve problems. It's not a difficult job. It's to resolve problems and do the very best I can each day. Treat people fair, treat people with consistency, and treat people with respect.
What the oath of office, can y'all hear me? What the oath of office means to me, a police officer's oath of office is one of the most important oaths he'll ever take outside of his marriage oath. It's equatable to taking your oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I take that seriously. Since 2001, we can see that we are being under constant attack and that we have to be vigilant and on guard. We have to be compassionate for our fellow man. We have to watch each other's backs. We have to hold ourselves to the highest integrity, ethics, and morals, because as law enforcement officers, we're always under the radar. We're always being watched to see if we just mess up. So it's a high regard we have to take, and all of us in law enforcement take our oath of office very responsible. Thank you.
Okay, question number 2 comes from Karen Rogers, government class at Morristown High School. Submitted the following.
Excuse me one second. I go first each time, or do we alternate?
What, alternate?
I think we need to alternate.
Yeah,
Let's Okay, go ahead.
It is an established fact that the Hamlin County Jail does not meet the minimum standards for local correctional facilities as defined by the Tennessee Correctional Institute under the authority of the General Assembly. This is evident by the decertification that occurred in 2010. Rampant overcrowding places the county in a legal precarious position. Expansions and renovations of the jail are not viable options, and the construction of the facility would not solve the long-term problems of contributing to the jail overpopulation. The question is, what is the reason for the jail overcrowding, and as sheriff, what policy strategies would you implement to address them?
It's a long question there. Well, I mean, everybody knows the overcrowding in jail primarily is caused by the drug addiction problem. By far, and in our community, it's the prescription drug problem. We still have problems with crack cocaine, with meth to a large degree, but by far it's prescription pills. As sheriff, what I'm going to do, and I'm going to put a task force together. I'm going to put a task force together. I've set on another task force in Nashville that deals with this problem. We're going to bring in different people besides law enforcement. We're going to bring in like the clergy. We're going to be different counseling groups to more or less brainstorm. Why are people getting hooked on these prescription drugs? And what can we do to stem this flow of illegal activity? In the United States, each year, $50 billion of illegal drug trade occurs. The United States, 1 in every 100 people are in jail. They're behind bars. So we've got to work together in a team effort, law enforcement and outside agencies involved, to come up with some kind of viable solution. It's just going to take some brainstorming. We're going to have to work together. And I think once we get a handle on the drug epidemic, that will see a significant part of reducing the jail population. Thank you.
By Tennessee law, it's the responsibility of the Hamlin County Sheriff to receive and safely house these inmates. These inmates are on drugs. They are on drugs because the system has failed. The system has failed them, and we have to remove the problem from the community. It is not our responsibility as jailers to rehabilitate what society has failed to do. We do not have the funds or manpower. I am not going tax the taxpayers with that burden when those funds have already been administered in the private sector to prevent this problem and also to correct the problem and to recondition these people that's committed themselves to drugs. The funds has already been administered. I'm not going to re-burden the taxpayer by asking them an impossible task that we cannot complete.
Amen. I do want to remind you, please hold your applause until the end of the forum, okay? For both candidates.
It's my turn to go first.
Yes. From Miss Tammy Ripley's government class at Morristown West High School, submitted the following question. What will you do to educate people on animal cruelty, animal abuse?
Well, once again, there's a misconception here. The job of the sheriff is to receive and safely house inmates and undesirable people in the community. That is not the responsibility. I'm not going to burden the taxpayers with that responsibility. There's other avenues to address that. That is a very major concern. But it's not the jail's concern to address that. It's up to the private sector and the county commissioners to address that issue.
Repeat the question again.
What will you do to educate people on animal abuse? From Morristown West High School.
Law enforcement generally does not educate people on animal abuse. If we find that there's instances of animal abuse that has occurred, of course we will prosecute the people for abusing the animals and do what we have to do. But it's other than people know not to abuse animals. I just don't know what else you tell them that's something I can say right there. We'll investigate and prosecute them, but as far as the education, I think that's going to have to come from your home, your parents, the schools, and let you know what's right and wrong in the community. Thank you.
Question number 4, regarding local schools. What is your plans to ensure the schools are secure and safe for our children?
That's a good question. Through my background, we spent a lot of time addressing school safety. We've instituted active shooter response teams. All officers were trained in active shooter response. We instituted SRO programs. The guys that were working on patrol, they were detailed to park and walk and visit inside the schools. As sheriff, that's going to continue in the county. Active shooter response teams will be set up and established. Continuous training on active shooter will be conducted with other agencies, and officers will park their cars, walk inside the schools, and interact with the teachers and other staff as well as the children. That causes better relations, better trust to be built between law enforcement and the school staff and the children. We will take this very seriously. Children are our most important asset. We see what happens in the Sandy Hooks, the Columbines. When I was at the FBI Academy, I was with one of the most responding officers to Columbine High School, and it affected him. He was still suffering from what he saw at Columbine. So law enforcement takes these issues seriously, and it will be addressed regularly. Thank you.
We already have in place everything that my opponent has addressed. We have an active shooter on each shift, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta, that can respond to a school at any time and take out the dirtbag that's causing harm to our future, which is our children. I think it's very important to have that in place. We have SROs in place at the school. We don't have as many as we like because of lack of funding. We have a very positive attitude. I tell my officers to go to the school systems, to eat lunch in the lunchroom. They are more than welcome. They do that. They drive through the neighborhood. They drive through the parking lot. All of these have been administered already because of the activity that has been observed throughout the United States. We know that that can happen here in small town USA, Morristown, Tennessee. We are prepared for those type of actions, and hopefully we can prevent anyone from getting hurt except the suspects.
What is your interpretation of the Second Amendment, which states a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed?
Well, I think that's pretty well self-explanatory. I think we need armed forces. I think the people of the United States of America has got to the point where no one trusts the federal government. I don't trust the federal government. Anybody in here with honesty will agree with me. I suggest anybody and everybody to go get permits and get a gun carried legally. I know the Constitution says the right to keep and bear arms, but you know, our defense has been cut repeatedly by the bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. We have become very vulnerable to the third world countries. We have got to the point where we have to defend ourselves. I would suggest anybody and everybody to go get a gun permit, and I don't back up from that statement.
First 10 amendments to the Constitution is the Bill of Rights. I completely support the entire Bill of Rights as well as I do the entire Constitution. The Second Amendment, which deals with our well-regulated militia, I believe it's just as it says. It's the right and it's of every citizen to keep and bear arms. If you're not a convicted felon and you want to purchase a firearm and own one, that's your business. I have no problem with people getting concealed weapons permits. I have one my own self. Other members of my family have one. I own weapons. I own a lot of weapons, just to be honest with you. So it's each person's individual right. If they want to own weapons, and again, if they're not a convicted felon, I have no problem, and that's just the way I stand on it. And again, I support the entire Constitution. Thank you.
What are the biggest problems facing the sheriff department?
Well, probably one, like we did talk, was the jail overcrowding. And I think that's going to be the top of everybody's agenda because, when you got guys laying and sleeping in the floor and having to share blankets and there's not enough jail uniforms to go around and these terrible conditions, I think that's going to be the number one. By far, there's been a lot of talk about going to have to fund either a new jail or revamp this jail. It's coming in the future. We've got to do something. The economy is just hopefully the economy just get kicked back off. I don't think right now is the time that we can afford to build a new jail, but sometime in the future it's going to have to be addressed. So it's like the old saying, you got to race what you bring. So we're going to have to do what we can at the jail and get it fixed up and working legally and safely and humanely house the inmates. So I think that would be the number one problem. Thank you.
One big problem facing the sheriff's department, and we all know what I'm going to say, it may not surprise anybody. We have an overcrowded jail that is because of the drug problem that we have all across the United States of America. It creates overcrowdedness, which creates poor ventilation for the jail, which creates decertification of the jail, which creates potential liability on lawsuits that we cannot defend properly because the jail has been decertified. So with the jail decertified, the potential of lawsuits is enhanced. A lot of times it's just a blank check waiting for someone to sue. We are understaffed because of the overpopulation. We don't have space for the inmates. I admit that. The jail is decertified. I admit that. But the jail is maintained as best as we can maintain it with what we got to work with. There is no simple solution. If anybody knows the solution, then they could be a billionaire sharing that information with us. This is my turn.
What is your vision for the sheriff department?
My vision for the sheriff department is have better funding that will produce more officers. At some point, we are going to have to address the seriousness of a new structure, but that is something that the county commissioner will have to address along with the cooperation with the jail study committee and also the input of the sheriff and the employees of the sheriff department. More training. You can never compromise safety and training. The officers have good equipment now. Better communication. We are lacking in communication. I sit on the 911 board. I am not pleased with the video communication that we have because it's broken down. My officers are in jeopardy on many occasions because they cannot transmit and they cannot receive a call. The sad thing today is once they are in that situation, guess what? The cell phone don't work either. So I'm not pleased with the communication. I keep receiving information that we are going to get better communication through the 911 system. I'm not criticizing the 911 system, but we just cannot continue to compromise safety of my officers who may have a code O 15 minutes away. Those of you who don't know what code O is, that means assistance coming to your help. Sometimes they don't even have anybody that can come to their help. I need more manpower. Manpower requires more funding. More funding requires more taxes. And I don't think the citizens of Hamblen County is in a position right now to absorb a 20 or 25% tax increase when people are doing without medicine because they don't have the money to buy medicine, they don't have money to buy food. We are not ready for a tax increase. Thank you. I was going to have a sneeze.
My vision for the sheriff's department is to get the community and law enforcement working together in a positive effort and team effort to combat this, our crime-related problems and dealing with drug issues. Working together as a team effort, we can come to a solution to some of these problems. More eyes on the problem means better results. Also, I have a vision to increase the number of deputies on the street. When I worked at the Sheriff's Department in 1979, as soon as I got out of the military, there was 3 guys working the street. Here, over 35 years later, we got roughly 3, maybe on the good night, there's 4 guys working the street right there. So that's got to change. Somehow that's got to change, either by thinking outside the box, mixing these guys up, put them where you got the highest enforcement time instead of the way it's being done now. But we've got to find a way to get these guys some backup out there. At the city, we were, if they request help, we would always go to them because sometimes they're by themselves on the call. When I worked at the Sheriff's Department, many times I was by myself. And so if I didn't have help coming, it's, if I got myself into it, I had to get myself out of it right there. One of my goals is going to be to establish a reserve deputies force. That's going to alleviate some of these manpower problems. These guys, it's to be the same concept we established at the police department, reserve police force. Same concept. We're going to take these guys. It's going to be a volunteer force. Very minimal funding will be required. Many other sheriff's departments and police agencies across Tennessee and the United States already do this. There's no reason why the Hamblen County Sheriff's Department cannot do the same, and I intend to implement that program. Thank you.
So 2 minutes to close.
Was that it?
I'll go first.
Closing remarks?
My clock hasn't started yet, has it? The drug problem goes much deeper than ankle bracelet, house arrest, probation, rehab, and other programs which have been in place for many years. My team and I work closely with Judge Collins, Judge Duggar, Mayor Britton, Jail Study Committee, local probation officers, church ministry, and other resources when available In an effort to have a successful program that will reduce the jail population and stop the repetitious circle to an overcrowded jail. Only the judge can determine the length of jail time or order an inmate to participate in the program. The officer's job is finished after the arrest is made. Only a judge can shorten a sentence or release an inmate from jail. By the very nature of these programs, an opportunity to obtain drugs, alcohol, and commit criminal acts is always present. A new criminal charge can violate an inmate's probation. Approximately 50 to 60% of inmates are arrested and returned to jail for violating the probation. Unless we have about 15 to 20% of tax increase, we are not able to implement major changes right now. My team and I have successfully managed our budget without a tax increase. The job of the jail is to house criminals after the system has failed. This system has the funds, resources, spaces, technology, and manpower that the jail does not have. My job, first and foremost, is to protect the law-abiding citizens of Hamblen County. Life is about choices. I have worked with and still willing to work with anybody in an attempt to break the cycle of addiction and keep families together. The root of the problem lies with doctors and pill mills who overprescribe. We need accountability. This requires new Tennessee law to be passed in Nashville and enforced. Our inmates have picked up over 500,000 of litter in our streets and community yearly since I've taken office. Thank you for having me.
I want to be your sheriff because I want to make a difference in the lives of citizens of Hamblen County. I want to lead by example to demonstrate dignity and respect. I will be proactive in all my crime-fighting efforts, not reactive. I want to be your sheriff because I am qualified. I have worked within the constraints of a $5 million plus budget to manage all patrol operations to include overtime, vehicle maintenance, and equipment purchases and repairs. My opponent stated recently that now is not a good time to change the leadership. His words, not mine. I say now is a great time, and I will achieve my goals in 8 years. I want to be your sheriff because I have a vision for the Hamblen County Sheriff's Department. And my vision includes making opportunities available for our young people who are seeking professions in law enforcement. As your sheriff, I will implement a detailed 7-step plan to establish your Sheriff's Department as an effective department, second to none. I will hit the ground running on day one of my term. It will not take me 3 or 4 years to learn the job. I will be a team player who will work and work well with everyone. I will be available and accessible to all the citizens, no matter your address, economic status, or political preference. I will see your law enforcement personnel are adequately trained, thereby decreasing the excessive personnel turnover that we've seen. I will send your law enforcement personnel to be trained to walk their state, keeping your tax dollars in Hamblen County. I will be fighting crime daily. Your patrol cars will be in the subdivisions of neighborhoods. Warrants will be served daily, and drug busts will be conducted regularly, not just during election years. I will implement a task force to combat our current prescription drug problem. I will make hiring military veterans a top priority. I will place to serve and protect on your patrol cars, not my name. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming out tonight and supporting our Republican candidates. We also appreciate your support of the Hamblen County Young Republicans as well. Please spread the word about our organization. And if you are interested in the Hamblen County Young Republicans, please like our Facebook page as well as talk to me tonight if you have any questions. In addition, please do not forget to vote in our primary election, which is May 6th, and early voting starts tomorrow. Thank you again. I hope you have a blessed night. Before you all leave, though, if I could ask you a favor, if those of you who have some time this evening to help us set back the room the way it was, it took me and my father 2 hours today to put it the way it was. So we're hoping not to be here too late if we can get some volunteers. So thank you again. I hope you have a blessed evening.